Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Nanny, Poppins Agency. Yes, we are back here to talk more about the amazing work that this whole team does, helping people staff, whether it's domestic staffing, whether it's nannying. I mean, there's so many things that you all do as a domestic and estate placement agency, and we're excited to have you all here, understanding the needs of constantly changing households and families. Since 1995, they've been committed to providing the highest level of support, once again, as a full-service nationwide nanny, domestic, and estate staffing agency. Welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you. I'm
Great.
doing good.
Great. Would you mind introducing yourselves to us? Who would like to start first?
So my name is Emily Thompson. I am the creative director for the agency. I have been in many positions prior to this, and I have been a career nanny placed through the agency.
Beautiful. And Jenn S.
My name is Jenn Sherr. I've been with the agency for 5 years as a recruiter, and prior to that, I was placed with the agency working with special needs children. And I live in Boston, and I have an art studio here in Boston, Massachusetts.
Amazing. Well, first and foremost, we have new listeners each and every week. Tell us a little bit about the agency itself and what you have to offer.
Do you want me to go, Em, or you want to go?
Yeah, please, because what we definitely want to focus on today is we're more than just a nanny agency. So I would love Jenn to speak on that.
Perfect.
So I listened to last week, so I wanted to just talk a little bit more. Jennifer, explained how how the agency started, but we really work with many different placements. We place accountants, we place concierges, we placed estate executive assistants. We even had someone had a truck company, and we worked with them trying to find somebody. So we can place, although it's the Nanny Poppins agency, we place almost all different kinds of jobs. Most recently is the groundskeeping job. 2 years ago, we had a client who was looking for a nanny in New York City. Then we helped him find 2 concierge people in his offices in Chicago, along with an accountant in his Chicago office. So we really have a broad spectrum of clients, and we can really, if anyone is looking for a particular position, it does not just have to be in domestic staffing. It can be almost anything.
Wow, this is awesome. You see, because people would hear the name if they first heard of you and not realize you really are full service. And this is good to know. What other types of positions? Now, by the way, I know you work with the client and the candidate too. So that's another benefit. You're screening everyone to make sure it's a good fit.
We do. I do a lot of the calls with clients along with the team, of course, with Jennifer. When clients call the agency, we really try to get, I know Emily's talked a lot about her detail. Emily's amazing with detail. We get a lot of detail from the clients of exactly what they're looking for. So most recently, we just had a client give us a call who's looking for a cook. And so a cook is such a broad job because there's vegetarian. There's people that like sushi, there's people that like certain cuisines. So we really, as an agency, try to get the details of what they're looking for, what kind of foods they eat. And so that's like just something recent. Housekeepers, this is a housekeeper cook job. We also have we just placed the groundskeeping job in Massachusetts, which is for a groundskeeper. It's like a landscaper for properties. Those are some recent jobs, but over the years, we've really placed a lot of different kinds of jobs, specifically like executive housekeeping, concierge, accountants, chefs. We've done chefs for temp jobs. If someone was at Martha's Vineyard for the summer. They were looking from Los Angeles. I think it was somewhere in California. And they were looking for like someone who knew the island and that could kind of help them facilitate the island and be their house manager and kind of like a concierge for them on the island. So we can do like short-term temp jobs like that all over the country.
Amazing. Did you want to piggyback on that or say anything else, Emily?
Well, I mean, yeah, just to follow up, anyone, as Jennifer always says, we can place anyone that works in your home office, or your business. We really can do it all. Like Jenn said, we did have a client we placed a nanny with. He liked our process so much. As she mentioned, we've placed high-end concierge, IT people. So we've really learned what exactly we can do. I think that's been our biggest strength over the past couple of years is our growth. We can place anyone. We're very thorough and we're very good at it. And, a lot of people don't realize that similar to how a nanny might specialize working, Jen worked with kids with special needs. Some nannies may prefer to work just with infants. We really take the time to identify those needs and make sure that not only does this person, they're a right fit with your family, but they have the experience and maybe possibly credentials you're looking for. The same thing can go for a chef. A chef might specialize in vegan cooking, in gluten-free cooking. And so we might have a client who wants a kosher kitchen or who wants gluten-free or vegan. So we really do try to get as much detail, streamline the process, and really make it a boutique custom experience.
And by the way, where are you based out of? Where's the main hub?
Our main office is, we just moved from Wyndham to North Shore, Massachusetts, Marblehead, about, I believe, half an hour north. So we are definitely based in New England, but we are now nationwide.
That's fascinating. And clearly you both, have been with the company for quite some time. And did you, want to elaborate on that dedication, that commitment? And I just love reading and hearing the positive reviews of the people that you've been helping.
So oh, sorry, go ahead, Jen.
It's okay. Go ahead.
I was going to say, as far as the dedication, I think something that does make us stand out, Jen and myself, we're not just former nannies. And I think this is something you might have talked about on the last episode as well. But we're not just former nannies. We have been placed specifically by this agency many times. And as Jen and I both know, there's many, many agencies, especially in the Boston area. Boston is very much a nanny culture area. There's a very specific culture to having a nanny there. And so what I think is great about us is that we really can help from any single area. And we have many nannies come back and work for us, not just nannies, house managers over the years come back and work for us in administrative capacity. And I wouldn't really stick my neck out for a lot of agencies that I've spoken to and worked with. It can be tough being the candidate.
Yeah.
You're not always treated well. I've been rudely asked, or, we don't really know how you even got that job. I've been given tests by agencies.
Wow.
And so this was the one agency that I felt like made me feel comfortable, made me feel cared for, supported me, checked in on me. And, Jen may be able to attest this. That's not going to be your experience with every single agency. We really do try to make sure we are there for both the client and the candidate.
Great. And Jen, would you mind just following up on that and then give us a little bit of your background since we haven't met you yet officially, till today.
Sure. I'll just elaborate a little bit on what Emily said. So I guess when you ask that question, Jennifer is very hands-on as an owner. And my experience with her, and I know the team's experience, is that she's very hands-on. She really cares. So when we have people going out to jobs, like, we're not just placing them, we're also like following up and making sure they're okay. If they're going to making sure they arrive okay. I've been on the phone with Jennifer on a Saturday. She will be available to talk to someone if they need to talk. So like we work on ethics and integrity, but the presence of Jennifer and the team for the candidates and the clients is pretty 24/7, except, I have to say we're really do generally are available and generally care to make sure people are okay wherever they're going, and making sure that we're always working with integrity and being present for people.
Beautiful.
And then my background is I grew up in Massachusetts. I grew up on Martha's Vineyard in the summers. And so growing up on the vineyard in the summers, I always babysat. I was like the babysitter on the island. And then I always worked in childcare. And then I went to college and got a degree in early childhood education. And I was a nanny and also an artist, an art teacher, but I met Jennifer through applying through the agency. And I went through the whole process that many of the candidates go through. So I understood how I was so glad, to be honest, that an agency was doing their due diligence, and that they knew who the family was, they knew who I was, they made a perfect match, and I had gotten a job within a week. And then after COVID kind of hit in 2020, I started doing recruiting full time and been here doing that, and it's been really great.
Beautiful. And we should mention Jennifer Bouchard, who's the owner, founding owner, right? Could you just share a little bit about her and who's the co-owner again of the company?
Um,
Jennifer, go ahead.
oh, sorry, I was going to say Jennifer is the sole owner. She did co-found it with one of her
Okay.
best friends, April, when they were, I believe, still in college, maybe, or just out, 23
Okay.
about. And so April eventually moved to Florida, and she has her own agency there as well. And at the time, because Jennifer was based in her area, she was working with
Mm-hmm.
clients in that area, and same to April. And April's agency is amazing as well. I believe she's based in Palm Beach, Florida. So she's the sole owner, and she's,
Beautiful.
as Jen said, what I think does make her different. There's many agencies that are franchised, that are, delegated as far as management. You're not going to get the one-on-one time with an agency owner. And I can say this confidently with any other agency the way you can with ours. I have been
Beautiful.
on the phone with her, like Jen said, with clients, with candidates, Sundays, Saturdays, holidays. And, especially when I was a candidate, I think I mentioned this before, after any interview, she was my first call. It wasn't even my own mother to be like, oh my gosh, I nailed the interview. It was
Ah,
Jennifer. So
great.
yeah, it's just almost like feeling like you have a big sister, a mentor in that capacity. I think Jen and I can agree we've learned so much just by listening to her wealth of knowledge. She really can answer any question about this industry.
Beautiful. All right. Since we're almost halfway through, let's remind everyone all the ways we could reach out to you.
So you can visit our website, nannypoppinsagency.com. If you're interested in our services, you can dial our number at 888-6, is it 849-6090? Is that it, John? I'm not as good as memorizing it off the top of my head as Jennifer is. I believe that's it.
I
But if
got
not,
888-849-6090 for your next
okay.
hire. And
Yeah.
for employment, 888-224-0413.
Yes.
I pulled up the website. Go ahead.
Yes. We have a separate number for candidates as
Yes.
well. That's the 224. Please dial that if you are a candidate. That way you can get connected with a recruiter quicker. But if you are a prospective client or candidate and you have more questions about the agency, please do give the 888-849-6090 a call. We have Instagram. We're on LinkedIn. We're on Facebook. I manage a lot of those. You can find us just about anywhere.
Perfect. Well, let's continue the conversation. What else did you want to share for everyone today?
Well, we thought it would be interesting to talk about newborn care specialists today. We're seeing a huge rise in people hiring them, and that is actually something that Jen
Oh.
probably definitely has the most experience with in the agency. So we kind of wanted to highlight the differences between a newborn care specialist and a traditional, maybe an infant nanny.
Sure.
So a newborn care specialist, it's they're certified, and usually a family that would be expecting their first baby, second baby, a newborn
Mm-hmm.
care specialist would be, they're kind of their own breed of candidates. They usually do 3-month contracts with families. They will meet the family either at the hospital or when the family comes home with the baby. They can work 24 hours a day. They can work overnights. They can work daytime hours. And they're solely to help the family with their transition of coming home with the newborn.
Mm-hmm.
And they are specifically can also help with a lot of training for if it's new parents or parents that are just open to wanting more training. They're
Mm-hmm.
really just like a nice cushion for the family support. We just recently placed a newborn care specialist in Connecticut who's worked as a awake overnight nanny, which would be overnight newborn care specialist, which would be that if a family wanted the newborn care specialists to stay awake all night in the same room with the baby, they do that. They help with sleep training. They help with feeding. So the newborn care specialist is kind of a very special kind of person to help with the newborn, the baby that's born and coming home. The infant nanny would be somebody who might come in, maybe it could still come in when the baby's a newborn, but they're not going to have those certifications that a newborn care specialist would have. So they're going to be helping with things, but not as intensely as a newborn. And a lot of families will do 24/7 care with newborn care specialists, have them live in. Some families, if they don't want them to live in, we find them local people that we just did an overnight. It can be a real support for the overnight part of the transition.
Oh my goodness, those days. I have a 7 and 9-year-old. They're coming back to me how hard they were to do it alone. Yes, I did. But oh my goodness, it's amazing. That's just critical care. That's the critical time in their lives. And to have specialists out there, I love this. I love hearing this. And both of you, let me ask, what are the qualifications, the certifications, coming in the door that your candidates must have for this position in a sense?
So they have to have what's called a newborn care certificate, which they do
Okay.
get certified. It's actually specifically called a newborn care specialist certificate.
Okay.
They have to have that. They get that. Also, most newborn care specialists that have that certificate tend to have other certificates that someone might look for, which is like sleep training, obviously the CPR first aid, but they might have the main certification would be a newborn care certification where they've gone and got specific training to become a newborn care specialist. So that would be the certification. Someone who is looking for a newborn, say someone is looking just for a newborn, like a newborn nanny, there are nannies that don't have those certifications that we certainly can find, and that we have found in the past, but the newborn care specialist would have that certification.
Got it. Thank you so much. Interesting. Now, the one thing I always say, childcare and auto body business. Everyone has a car, everyone's going to have kids. This is a huge business. And to know that, there's so many of us that this business is growing. Like you mentioned now, again, if you are just tuning in, growing not just from a newborn child care to child care in general, but Nanny Poppins Agency can help with staffing so many different businesses and jobs. And this is just still evolving. I could only imagine a few years from now, right? The type of staffing positions you're doing too.
Yeah, I think just when we think we can't get any bigger, that's when we just want to keep growing. We keep hitting new levels, new records, and we're so happy to hit them, but it just motivates us to keep going. So we're very excited to see what the future brings as far as more responsibilities we get to take on. It's actually been very exciting for me being a nanny to learn about other positions like newborn care specialist, butlers, chefs, whatever it is. I didn't really, other than maybe working with them in households as a nanny, I didn't have much idea of, the pay scale they're looking for, typical benefits they might receive, specific job duties. I had no idea how much a butler can do. Newborn care specialists, I wasn't sure what those were either. And, as Jenn said, they have that specific certification, but they also have to do, I think, a couple thousand hours of
Oh, wow.
training and certification. It's very serious. It's not just something like the CPR, you can take a quick course online.
Mm-hmm.
This is something that will take some time. It's really an investment. I've tried to encourage my mother to become one. She's a former nurse. I think she'd be great at it. But yeah, I think what's most exciting for me is learning about all these different positions. And as we continue to grow and get more of those positions, it's just getting, I think, more fun. Chefs' jobs are so fun to place. Jenn and I both are very creative and incorporated art when we were nannies with the kids that we watched.
Mm-hmm.
And so, food is art, making food is art. So to get to see the portfolios and the food they've made and the references, we have to do a whole different set of questions, of course, because we're not talking to somebody that's caring for kids. We're talking to somebody who's making meals for a full family. So I just like every time that we get a position we've never had before, I get very excited to learn about it.
Oh, I love this. Love this.
Yeah.
What's coming up now? What other new positions? What's happening here? The fall is here, Christmas, Hanukkah, the holidays are here. How does that impact the business?
We've gotten in quite a few live-in jobs recently. Like just to talk about the past week, we've gotten, I think, 3 new people looking for live-ins. So it's been very popular recently because the live-ins are very convenient. They're there, they're in the home. They're live-in nannies a lot of newborn care specialists, people planning ahead to get their newborn care specialist hired, so they're not worried, going through a process. So that's what we're seeing just this past week. And Emily, what do you think? Anything else in regards to that?
As far as, yeah, I would agree. We are seeing a lot of live-in jobs. We kind of go through phases with it's mostly live-in and then mostly live-out. We're definitely in a live-in phase. As far as clients coming in, we definitely just came off of a huge busy season. Of course, as you would expect, the closer we get to the new school year, the more calls we're going to get last minute. Our nanny didn't work out. Oh my gosh, we didn't realize we'd need a nanny. We didn't think, we would need one with all their activities. But so we naturally see a dip as many of those jobs are placed. And then we're going to pick right back up again. The second most busiest time is usually around the new year.
Okay.
So yeah, heading into the holidays, we keep in touch with candidates, keep in touch with clients, make sure everything's going great. We discuss new ways to bring new clients in. But we do start to tend to see a lot of live-ins. And live-ins are great. They can offer a level of flexibility that a live-out candidate just simply cannot.
Yeah.
Just because they're there and they're living there. Many people think that live-ins might be paid less because they're being paid by room and board, but this isn't someone who's looking for a place to live. This is a professional who's giving up their personal life and all of their flexibility to be there in person 24/7, helping to care for your family. So positions like live-in and newborn care specialists, they typically have their own contracts. They do things completely differently than live-out.
Wow. This is such an amazing business and all that you're doing to help so many. And you mentioned before it was a trucking position you just started to fill, or an accounting position, or both.
Yeah. Yeah, so we had a client in New York who had a very large company, and then we did place a nanny with him, and then he had offices in New York.
Yeah.
So a lot of the business that the agency does get is a lot of referral. Someone will work with someone, then they'll refer a friend, or they'll have an office, and then they'll want a new position. So we placed 2 concierges, which for his buildings, large towers. And then we also placed an IT person with them. And then we also placed an accountant with them. And then we also had a client who had a trucking company. We had placed two newborn care specialists with him, 2 nannies. And then we did a search for the trucking company for him. So people kind of come to the agency, they learn about Jennifer and that process. And then after they've finished the process and hired someone, they refer a friend or they refer someone else. We just finished a job in Montclair for a client who was referred by a client in Puerto Rico. So it's just kind of like a chain. And then they realize like what we are as a team and how we work, and can kind of help them in any way for what their specific needs are.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much. We still have a few minutes left in the show. What else did you ladies want to make sure we, hit upon here towards the end of the show about, why we should reach out to you?
I would say probably the only thing we haven't touched on is our level of teamwork. I believe to be just very high. I really do. Jen and I just worked together placing a candidate, and that involves, group chats, getting on calls on a Sunday. Jen was busy. I had a family barbecue. We still took the time to jump on this call and speak to this candidate. We work together. Jen and I have worked together very well for many years now. And so while everyone does, they're assigned their own clients, we work together as a team to fill all jobs. We would not be able to fill the jobs that we fill without working as a team. I know agencies I've spoken to as a candidate, and just through speaking to agencies working in this capacity, for one, that's not something you're going to see. We see a lot of franchises. I might call an agency. Hi, I spoke to this person. Oh, she's in that office. Here's her number. There's just not, it just seems very formal.
Yeah.
We really do our best to try to make candidates feel comfortable. And so I think that that's something we accomplish very well.
Beautiful. Well, it's a pleasure having you both, and send my regards to Jennifer as well, the other Jen, and remind us all how we can reach out to contact you both. Thank you.
Sure. So it's nannypoppinsagency.com. You can reach us at 888-849-6090. If you're a client looking to hire, if you are a candidate and you want to speak to a specific recruiter, that's 888-224-0413.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. Pleasure having you here again, Emily. Pleasure to meet you, Jen S. And looking forward to the next time we connect, okay?
Thank you, Joe.
Joe.
Thanks again. And
Have
to
a
all
good
of our
one.
listeners and viewers, stay tuned where the show's coming right up after the break. Bye-bye.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.